CrossfireX failed so hard as a game that in under a year, Microsoft took down its servers. You can't even play the single-player campaign anymore, even if you bought the game. As it turns out, when you take one of the most popular free-to-play first-person shooters in Asia that plays like Counter-Strike, but bootleg, and turn it into an Xbox exclusive that plays like Call of Duty, but bootleg, people don't like it too much. And they're doing it again, except for this time on an even less popular platform, PC VR and PlayStation VR.
Sick me again. Oh, they're too far! Ah! Oh, that seems like it.
You're running like you're from Ed, Edd n Eddy.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but this game is actually fun. I know that wasn't what I was expecting either. I was expecting an experience like, say, Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, something that was years behind in VR tech and just was miserable. But no, this is actually fun. The first thing I saw when I launched the game is a firing range. You can test every gun in the game, right from the beginning. This is the main menu. Yes, every game needs to do this. I will die on that hill. This should be mandatory in every first-person shooter. A full-on firing range. Let me try all the guns in the game. Let me get familiar with the game. Let me just see what you have to offer. You can tell a lot from how guns feel in a first-person shooter. That is the fundamental element of their gameplay. And surprisingly, right away, these guns feel pretty good. They sound loud, they have good screen shake that doesn't make me feel nauseous. This is VR, keep in mind. Like, these are just good guns. I was a little mixed on how these guns felt entirely because they had reload mechanics that were kind of in between a manual reload and an automatic reload. No matter what gun you used, if you press the mag eject button, it will just eject a magazine. Press the trigger with your left hand, or offhand if you're a witch and you're left-handed. Put that magazine near the gun and then it kind of plays an animation of loading it into the gun. It's an odd in-between that I didn't hate, but I felt there was room for improvement. Especially because there was little details that I think should be there in a VR title. Like, for example, you couldn't physically hit the bolt catch on the M4. You couldn't HK slap an MP5. Now, these aren't mandatory things to make a good first-person shooter, but they do add to your experience, and then when you try to do them and you can't, it takes you out of the moment. For me personally, it's weird to push a button and eject a magazine on an AK. And also, you couldn't do the AK reload thing where you pull out a magazine and slap the other one out. Wait a minute, I just did it right there. Yeah, so literally days after I played this game for the first time, there was a huge update that redid all of this, and none of those complaints are true anymore. Yeah, all those things I talked about you couldn't do, HK slapping, hitting the bolt on the M4, doing that AK reload, you can do all that now. And like I said, previously you would press the mag eject button on the gun and you would always eject the mag, even if it didn't make any sense. That's not true anymore. The mag eject doesn't work on an AK, it doesn't work on an AUG, you have to actually reload.
Except for with the P90. For whatever reason, you can do the AK reload with this thing. What?
There is one exception to this. Guns where you load one round at a time. Take shotguns, for example. This kind of just plays an animation in front of you, and to be honest, I'm totally okay with this. This game gets incredibly chaotic, so having to reload this with all of this going on manually would be a bit too much. And that's a good sign. It means that the devs are focusing on having good, fun gameplay above all else. If you haven't figured it out, this game is an arcade-style VR shooter. It's not meant to be, look how cool and tactical we are. It's just meant to be fun. It's kind of in the same vein as Zero Caliber. But before I continue on with that, I need to talk about these guns a little bit more. Because this game has a full loadout system. But the game itself is only single player and co-op. So it's kind of like in Vegas where you start a mission and you can choose whatever you want. But then it also has sort of perks like Call of Duty. It's a really interesting system, and I like it a lot. What's best about this loadout system is that there is no unlocked path. You're not going to unlock the AK because you reached level 5 or something limiting like that. No, you get currency for playing missions, and then when you have enough currency, you can buy whatever you want in the game right from the get-go. I love this. I love it when devs do this. Give me the choice of what I want to use. Let me unlock what I want to use right now. And this goes on to your attachments too. Even better, when you unlock an attachment, That attachment is unlocked for every gun in the game. This part is kind of like Blacksmith in Modern Warfare 2019. Some of these attachments may just give you less recoil or more stability and stuff like that, but some other attachments change the gun fundamentally. It doesn't turn it to another gun, but for example, you can unlock one-handed magazines for certain guns. You buy the one-handed magazine for the Glock 18, and now you can dual-wield Glock 18s and reload them one-handed, and you couldn't do that if you didn't buy that magazine. Conversely, if you just want to use a raw machine pistol, you can buy the drum mag for the Glock 18, and now you can't reload it one-handed, but you have a drum mag. There is a bunch of stuff in the game like this. I've played it for about 12 hours now, and I think I've only unlocked like half of the guns, nowhere close to the amount of upgrades you can get, nowhere even close to all the attachments. On top of this, you can get perks attached to your guns. When you upgrade your gun, you can buy a perk. These perks do different things, like if you get a headshot, you do more damage on your next few shots for a short amount of time. Or when you kill an enemy, you start healing immediately right after, which that one is kind of ripped straight from Call of Duty, but I'm not complaining. You can have up to 3 loadouts, so you can swap back and forth as much as you want, and they're pretty easy to change. The UI for the loadouts is easy to navigate. You have 3 loadouts you can choose from at any given time, and overall this is a really good system that encourages replayability. And while this game is replayable, it will take a long time until you need to replay anything. Now, like I mentioned, it's single player and co-op. It's not PvP, just PvE. There is a single player only campaign, although this one is only 13 levels long, and you'll be able to beat it in about 3 to 4 hours. It serves as basically a good, kind of fun tutorial, but the bulk of the content is in the co-op. Here, let me talk about the campaign really quick. It is clearly trying to be Call of Duty, but to be honest, it didn't feel as much like Call of Duty to me as it did the original Black. Instead of walking behind NPCs while they talk, waiting to be able to do anything, instead of waiting by a door, waiting for someone to kick it down so you can actually try to play the game, instead of playing like an interactive movie, it just plays like an arcadey video game. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a very linear game. That is very much so true. I'm not saying it isn't scripted in that way, but it's not scripted in other ways, if that makes sense. Now, in these single player missions, you cannot use your loadout. However, the game gives you a ton of guns throughout these missions for you to try out. You basically get to try everything by the time you beat the campaign. And they all have different attachments, and they all seem to be placed in specific spots for that specific mission. For example, one of these missions was really fun because it was just the dual-wielding mission. And let me tell you, dual-wielding in this game is a trip. It's some of the most fun I've ever had in VR, and just in gaming in general. Like I said, one-handed magazines make this a lot easier. But on top of that, you can also pick up a shield and put it on your back to use it whenever you want. And since you can reload one-handed, this is like the Rainbow Six Vegas shield, but in VR, so it's even better. Dual-wielding with the Glock 18 is fun, dual-wielding with the Micro Uzi is fun, dual-wielding with Desert Eagles is ridiculous. It is so strong when it comes to headshots. So yeah, even though this basically functions like a long tutorial, it's still a lot of fun. It has something to offer. It doesn't really have much to offer when it comes to the story though, I'm just gonna be honest. You've heard this story before, the higher-ups are not telling you some information, you go out on your own with your squad without the higher-ups knowing to try to figure out what they're telling you. They're holding something behind your back, maybe somebody gets backstabbed, there's some secret at the end of the game, and then it ends. And I swear to God, the main character is the same main character from Soldier of Fortune Payback.
Not gonna happen. Now, quit stalling me.
Tell him we're busy.
Yeah, that's not a compliment. This is not good voice acting. In its defense, I actually remember the names of the main characters. I know who is who, and I could follow it better than most games, so I guess there's something to be said there. It also doesn't seem to be giving off that vibe that's just, I want to be super operator, super cool, and it's military LARPing while you're playing a Call of Duty style game, and that's always been super cringe to me. Also comes across as lazy writing for American military propaganda, but let's not get into that. And instead, let's get into the co-op, because that's probably where you're going to be spending most of your time. Look at all of these missions, there's so many of them. And while they play similarly to the single player, they're a lot more chaotic. There are so many enemies here. These missions are tailored for only 2 people. You can't have 4, it's just 2 people. And for 2 people, it's really chaotic. But I don't say that in a bad way. These co-op missions are a clever reuse of a lot of different assets. You'll find yourself going through some of the single-player campaigns, but in a different direction and through doors you never went through before, and you may recognize things but not recognize others. When I'm explaining this, it probably sounds like laziness, but actually playing it reminded me of something else. Timesplitters 2's Challenge Mode. Especially in a way that most of these squad missions are just kind of a linear go here, shoot the enemies, kill this boss, go to the end, win the mission. but occasionally you'll get like a gimmick mission. For example, a mission with snow where you can't see past 10 feet, which does add weathering to your gun, which is pretty cool. And then they give you another gun, which gives you a scope that lets you actually see your targets. So you were forced to use your scope. There's quite a few different gimmick missions like this, but the core gameplay itself is also very fun. And some of these gimmick missions you may not like at all. Some of them I'm not a big fan of, but I know other people that love them. For example, there is a sniper mission where you're just in place counter-sniping snipers, and I find this kind of boring. It's a little more palatable in VR than regular gaming, but still, I'm just sniping in place. This does let me talk about the scoping though, because it works a little different, and you might have noticed that. You can use it like a regular scope, but if you pull the sniper close enough to yourself, the scope becomes full screen. At this point, you can pull the trigger a little bit, which will hold your breath and stabilize your aim, which is a good thing, because sniping in VR is a lot harder than you may think. You see, when I'm trying to shoot with something that I can physically hold in my hands, I can stabilize in my shoulder, I can hold it with 2 different hands. I have 3 points of contact here. In VR, you don't have that. You're just trying to hold your hand out steady holding a controller, and people's hands are not as steady as you may think. You're gonna shake a lot. So having the ability to hold your breath in VR and make it full screen makes sniping a lot more palatable in VR, and for a game that's more arcadey, I prefer this. Yes, this is a Halo assault rifle Nerf gun. Nothing crazy about this one, you can just buy it off the shelf. But I have a ton of insane Nerf guns. I actually have an entire channel dedicated to this kind of stuff. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a link up in the top right. Please check it out. Dart blasters have become absolutely nuts nowadays. They're a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, that's... Damn. God damn.
This thing's no joke.
Ow.
Yeah, you got some welts.
Now that I think about it, I've not explained anything you're fighting yet. I've just talked about guns a lot, which I guess isn't a bad thing. There's a pretty wide variety of enemies. You have basic military dudes of SMGs, assault rifles, snipers, shotguns. They all act differently. Now, you can predict how they're going to act. A guy with a shotgun is going to bum rush you, a guy with a shield is going to slowly walk towards you, a sniper is going to snipe.
Hell, this game even has drones with UMPs strapped to the underside of them, and that's ridiculous. Although the drones that shoot missiles are really annoying. They don't do that much damage, but they make your screen shake way too much, and in VR, it's really obnoxious. If I didn't have an iron stomach in VR, this would probably make me sick.
But this is a lot of variety. There's even heavies. There's a dude with a giant sledgehammer that's gonna run straight at you. There's a dude with a minigun. And some of these enemies might be stronger than others, depending on the color of their health bar, and this is all readable and really easy to understand. If their health bar is purple, they will have more health. If their health bar is yellow, they'll have even more health. If they have a name above their head, they are a boss. So yeah, this game is not trying to be a simulation in any way. It's definitely very arcadey, and I find it a lot of fun. There's even one more mode, a Horde mode, and it kind of disappointed me. This may be on me, because I expected a Modern Warfare 3 kind of survival mode, which gave me multiple maps and I could explore and unlock new guns as I was going along, but no, you spawn in with whatever loadout you had selected. There's some guns in the room you're in, there's an upstairs, enemies pour into you, they get stronger each wave, and that's it. That's the entire Horde mode. It's not even multiple levels, it's just one level, and that's kind of disappointing. You can still have some fun with it, but like, it's missed opportunity. A lot more could have been done here. I don't feel I can complain too loudly, because there's already so much content in this game for only 25 bucks. And it even has crossplay. If you're on PC and they're on PlayStation VR, you can play together. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this game also lets you change your grenade at any type. You don't even need to buy the other grenade types. You have frag grenades, impact grenades, and Semtex. If you haven't figured it out by now, this game is actually a lot of fun, and I'd really recommend it. But I have one thing to warn you of. You may get unlucky. As I found out in the later missions, the game may just become practically unplayable. When I say unplayable, I mean so in the physical sense. It starts lagging so bad. And it seems to be a total random if you are going to be unlucky with this problem. Now the spectator mode that you're seeing that will be displayed on the flat screen doesn't show this at all. What I'm seeing in my headset is not what you were seeing on that flat screen. So I tried to record with my phone a little bit to give you an idea of how laggy this is. Yeah, it goes from about 140 frames to under 10. I don't know what causes this. It's not just me, and it's not just my headset because it's a documented problem. And to their defense, they have been updating the game and patching it. That seems to fix it for a lot of people. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. Even within my friends, it's total random who has the problem and who doesn't. No one else had those issues. I played with 3 other people. 2 of them have quests, 1 of them has a reverb. I have an index. I was the only one with the problem. But looking through these threads, some people were having these problems with the quest anyway. And by the Quest, I mean Quest plugged into their PC, not standalone. But these sort of issues are really weird because it only happens on specific levels, and even weirder situations on top of that. For example, there was one level where when I picked up a 50 cal, it instantly broke my frame rate. It was unplayable. And then I dropped it, and it immediately fixed itself. So I picked it back up, and the same problem happened. So for some reason, that 50 cal breaks the game for me. I have a feeling this is what's going on these levels. There's some sort of entity on the level that's breaking it until it despawns, and then that fixes it. Because it really is just a total random, and I wish I knew what caused it so I could fix it, because I really want to play the game more, but some levels are just unplayable. But only for me, because of course I'm the unlucky one. Yeah, it's really frustrating. What was also really frustrating is that I played this game for about 4 hours, unlocked some stuff, and then the next time I launched the game, it was gone. No progress. Opening up the game, launched the tutorial, nothing had saved. This game autosaved, so I didn't just forget to save when I closed it, it just erased everything. Didn't happen to my other friend I was playing with who played with me that one day, so that's annoying. I have two theories as to why this happened. The first one is that they released a big patch between when I first played it and my second day playing it, so maybe that broke it. But I think what's more likely is that I didn't play the single player campaign at all. I had just jumped into the co-op campaign, so when I launched it the second time, it launched the opening tutorial and everything was gone. And I haven't had this problem since. I launched the second day just to play the campaign and again, never had that problem. So yeah, I'm starting to see where the negative reviews came from on day one. There was probably a lot more of these bugs that have mostly been patched out, and I'm thinking they're just not working with Index users as much as other headsets. I know they're working really closely with PlayStation VR and the Quest, but the Index is not quite as popular because it's more expensive. So by having a better headset, I'm getting punished. That's cool. I'm sure they'll get to it eventually. They seem to be patching things relatively quickly, so I can't really be that mad. I've still gotten 12 hours out of this game so far. I'm definitely going to be playing it more. It's a lot of fun and I would highly recommend. So how bad is Crossfire Sierra Squad really? Amazingly, really good. Not bad at all. Actually one of the go-to co-op games on VR right now. Never thought I would say that. As a side note, I really miss co-op shooters. I miss it back in the day when it was the expectation to have co-op, even if it didn't make any sense. Who cares if it doesn't make any sense to have a secondary Master Chief walking around? Maybe it messes with bounce. Let them have fun. Anyway, I'm Jarek. Thank you guys for watching this video. Huge thanks to my YouTube members. They get to see my videos at least 1 week ahead of time. They're probably going to see this video like a month ahead of time. I'm stockpiling videos right now as I make this. It is the day before Halloween, and I'll be done with this in a couple of days. So that gives you an idea how early they get to see my videos sometimes. Huge thanks to you guys that watch me over on Twitch. We have a lot of fun just hanging out. That's my chill time. So twitch.tv/Jarek or Gaming Dragon if you want to hang out with me in the future. And of course, thank all you guys for watching this video.